By the next morning, the air felt heavier, as if the world knew things had shifted. I barely slept. My dreams were jagged, stitched together with fragments of courtrooms, Sam's voice, Andrew crying for someone I couldn't see. I woke before dawn and sat at the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. David was already gone, off to the auction to pick up some feed at a discount. I appreciated the quiet, but it left me too much room to think. Ruth padded in, barefoot, holding 2 mugs of coffee like a peace offering. I didn't sleep either, she said, sitting beside me. I've been thinking. Liana can't afford Fulton and Price. That firm doesn't just take charity cases. Please help him. We need to find out who. I took the mug from her and nodded. Do you think it's someone connected to Sam? Ruth hesitated. That's the part I've been trying to figure out. I did some digging last night. Fulton and Price represented a client 2 years ago in a fraud case. Mid-sized farm cooperative out in Marlow County. Guess what the defendant's name was? I didn't answer. My stomach turned. Thomas Keene. I froze. Sam's old friend. The one he used to work with, yeah. The one you said he had a falling out with, right before he left that job and started this farm. I set my mug down, my hands shaking. That can't be a coincidence. No, Ruth agreed. It isn't. I remembered Thomas Keene too well. He and Sam had started out working side by side when Sam was managing sales for a local agribusiness group. But something happened, something Sam never fully explained. He came home angry one night and said only one thing: Thomas crossed a line I won't ever forgive. After that, Sam filed to separate from the co-op and we moved our life here. The farm became his obsession, a way to start over. I never pressed him for details. Maybe I should have. Later that afternoon, while Ruth took Andrew out for a milkshake and some breathing room, I found myself calling Miles. His voice came through the phone, calm and clipped. I got the letter. I've already filed a response. We'll be ready for the hearing. I sighed. Thank you. But there's something else. A name, Thomas Keene. Ruth thinks he may be funding Liana. Pause. That's a serious accusation. I know. But she found a case Fulton and Price handled for him. He's connected to Sam's past. There's bad blood. Emma, Miles said carefully, if this is true, then this isn't just about Andrew. This might be about you. Or something left unfinished. Can you dig into him? Quietly. I'll do what I can. But you should prepare yourself. If someone's pulling Liana's strings, it means they have a plan. And money. That word again. Money. It always seemed to be the match that lit every fire. When Ruth and Andrew returned, I found myself studying my sister's face. She was exhausted, but something else flickered there. Concern. He's asking questions, she said softly. Andrew. About his mom. About why she wants him now. What did you say? That sometimes grown-ups make big mistakes and try to fix them the wrong way. And that you love him more than anything. My chest ached. Thank you. But we can't dodge this forever. He's going to find out more. From school. From her. From court. I know. I took a deep breath. That's why I need to be the one to tell him. Soon. That night, as the sun dropped behind the barn, I took a walk down the drive. The fields glowed gold and the crickets had started their endless chorus. I reached the gate, where the letter had been left, and paused. I ran my hand over the wood, now stained slightly with rain and dust. Then I noticed something: tire tracks. Fresh. Narrow tread. Not David's truck. Not the feed van. I knelt down. They curved slightly, right where someone would stop, step out, and place an envelope. I didn't know if it was Liana. Or Keene. Or someone else altogether. But someone had come here close enough to touch the place we call home. Back inside, I closed every window and double-checked the locks. For the first time since Sam died, I pulled the shotgun down from the cabinet and set it by the front door. I wasn't planning to use it. But there was a shift inside me. Something solidifying. I was done waiting for people to knock. I was wiping down the kitchen counter when Andrew walked in, his backpack slung low over one shoulder and his face drawn in a way that made him look far older than his years. Mom, he said softly. That word still caught in my throat. Even now. Especially now. I turned, drying my hands on a towel. Yes, sweetheart. He hesitated, glancing around like he was checking for Ruth or David. Can I ask you something? I nodded and bent down a little. Always. He bit his lip then said, "Why does my other mom want me now? She left me. Didn't she?" It was the kind of question I'd rehearsed for in my head 100 times. But in real life there was no perfect script. Just your heart thudding like it might break. I pulled out a chair and motioned for him to sit with me at the table. The same table where Sam used to imagine a little boy celebrating his birthday with a lopsided cake and toy tractors. "I don't know all the reasons why she left," I said gently. "But I do know you didn't deserve that. None of it was your fault." He looked down at his fingers, fiddling with a loose thread on his sleeve. "Is she trying to take me away from you?" I swallowed hard. "She's trying. But I won't let that happen, Andrew. You're my son. You live here. This is your home." His eyes filled, but he blinked quickly and nodded. "Hey, I just wanted to know the truth." I held him close, his small body trembling against me, and I hated that this conversation, this weight, had to rest on his shoulders so young. I wanted him to have more time. More innocence. But life, like grief, rarely waits for permission. Later that afternoon Millis called. "I did a little poking," he said. "And guess what? Thomas Keene is listed as a silent donor for a community initiative in Liana's neighborhood. Guess who set up the initiative? A shell nonprofit with ties to an old Fulton and Price associate. That's how she's affording them." "Exactly. It's a funnel. And likely he's using her, manipulating her so he can get something in return." "What could that be?" I asked. "Sam is dead. The farm is mine. You think that's all he cares about?" The silence on the line stretched. Then Millis added, "Emma, are you sure Sam didn't leave anything behind? Financials, documents, something Keene might want to bury or recover." My mind flicked back to the lockbox in the attic. I hadn't touched it since the funeral. It was labeled in Sam's handwriting, "Private." "I'll check," I whispered. "Be careful. People like Keene don't act unless they have something to gain." Ruth got back shortly after sunset, her coat dusted with wind and a folder tucked under her arm. "I went to the courthouse in Greenville," she said, laying it on the kitchen table. "I pulled Liana's visitation request. There's something weird in it." I raised a brow. "Weirder than impersonating me at school?" Ruth flipped open the file. "Look at this section here, where she lists previous attempts to contact Andrew. She wrote that she left letters. Months ago." My stomach knotted. There were no letters. "Exactly," Ruth said. "She's building a narrative of consistent effort, like she didn't abandon him, just that she was kept away. If a judge believes that, it weakens your case." I slumped into a chair. "She's trying to rewrite history. And she's not doing it alone." That night I waited until the house was quiet. I climbed up to the attic with a flashlight and dust in my throat. The lockbox sat just where I remembered, under a tarp, next to Sam's old navy duffel bag. The key was still in my jewelry drawer. The box clicked open. Inside were papers, faded letters, old account ledgers, and a single photo. Sam and Thomas, younger, arm in arm at a groundbreaking ceremony for the co-op. Behind them a sleek black SUV and a banner that read, "Keene AgriCorp, Building Futures." I lifted one paper out and immediately felt a chill. It was a signed agreement, an old partnership clause. If the co-op folded, any assets liquidated under Keene's name would trigger a fallback clause, naming Sam as a witness to accountability. He knew something. Maybe even reported something. And Keene had every reason to make sure that trail died with him. Or with me. The next morning the front gate was open again. And this time, a dead crow hung from the post by a piece of red string. No note. No envelope. Just silence and warning. And suddenly it wasn't just about Andrew anymore. It was about Sam. And whatever truth he'd taken to the grave. I didn't touch the crow. I just stood there, frozen, as its black feathers swayed gently in the breeze like it was still alive. The red string around its neck looked new. Taut. Purposeful. This wasn't a prank. This was a message. Behind me the screen door creaked. Ruth's voice called from inside. "I made coffee, want?" She stopped short when she saw me standing there. Her eyes landed on the crow. "What the hell is that?" "An escalation," I said flatly, pulling my robe tighter around me. "Liana wants me rattled. Or maybe Keene does." Ruth took a step forward, then back again, visibly shaken. "You think she put that here?" "I don't know. But whoever did knew exactly how to scare me." I called Sheriff Lane before breakfast. He arrived 20 minutes later wearing a heavy coat and an expression that said he wasn't surprised, just disappointed. "This ain't some Halloween prank," he muttered, crouching by the post. "Someone went out of their way to make this personal." I showed him the photo and the documents I found in Sam's lockbox. His eyes narrowed. Sam never told me he was working with Keene. Or investigating anything. "He didn't tell me either," I said, my voice low. "But this proves they had a connection." Lane stood up slowly. "If your husband was involved in some kind of whistleblowing or dirty financial dealings, that might be why you're in the crosshairs now. Keene doesn't like loose ends." I crossed my arms, staring at the woods beyond the gate. "What do I do?" "For now," he said. "You lock your doors, keep your boy close, and let me do my job." Later that afternoon, Ruth sat in the barn with a notepad in her lap, scribbling furiously. I leaned against the doorway, arms folded. "Please tell me you're not writing an article." She looked up, offended. "It's research. Notes. I'm not going to publish anything without your say." "But Emma, there's a bigger story here. Keene, the false visitation records, Liana's new funding. This is orchestrated. Coordinated. And dangerous," I added. "I can be careful." I sighed. That's exactly what Sam used to say before he got too close to something ugly. Ruth hesitated. "Then maybe I'm the only one who can finish what he started." That evening, after Andrew had gone to bed and the house was still, I found myself in the kitchen with a glass of wine, staring out the window at the dark shapes of the trees. Every creak of the old farmhouse made my stomach tighten. The lockbox lay open on the table. I pulled out one more file I hadn't examined fully, financial ledgers. Handwritten notes in Sam's precise lettering. There were payments. Monthly. All traced through a dummy account that led to a P.O. box in Greenville. Large sums, all in the months leading up to Sam's death. Then I saw the note scrawled in red ink on the corner of one ledger. "She knows. He came back. If anything happens to me, it's not an accident." My hands trembled as I set it down. "She knows. Liana. Or someone else." Ruth came back into the kitchen holding her phone. "I just got off the line with a guy I know at the Tribune. He used to cover corporate fraud cases in the agri-sector." I looked at her, still frozen with the note in hand. "He remembers a whistleblower tied to Keene's firm about 6 years ago. It never went public, but the reporter said it vanished off the radar after a key witness died suddenly." "Let me guess," I said. "The official cause of death was accidental." "Exactly," she whispered. I turned the note toward her. "Read this." She did. And when she looked up, I saw something flicker behind her eyes. Anger. The kind that didn't just burn, it seared. "We need to find out what Sam was documenting," she said. "Before someone else finds it first." Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Millis. "Emma. Found something urgent. I need to see you in person. Tonight. Keene's lawyers are moving fast. Do not trust anything that comes in the mail or via courier. Destroy if unsure." I showed Ruth the message. Her jaw tightened. "We're not imagining this. This is happening. And they're accelerating." "Do you think we're in danger?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She looked toward the stairs where Andrew was sleeping. "We're past danger. We're in it now." Millis showed up just past 9. He didn't knock. He didn't have to. I was already at the door watching for his headlights. He stepped out of a battered gray sedan with a manila folder tucked under one arm and a tension in his shoulders that I hadn't seen before. Not even in court. "Is Andrew asleep?" he asked before I could even say hello. I nodded. "Ruth's upstairs with him. Come in." Miles entered quickly, eyes scanning the room like someone expecting an ambush. He wasn't his usual calm self. Tonight he looked like a man carrying something heavier than legal briefs. "What's going on?" I asked, heart in my throat. "What did you find?" He set the folder down on the kitchen table, took a breath and opened it. "There's a man named Gideon Rourke," Millis began. "He's the common thread in all of this. He's not on paper anywhere near Keene's operations, but that's intentional. He's a fixer. And he's been linked, off record, to 3 disappearances. One of them a whistleblower Sam might have known." The name meant nothing to me at first. But Millis kept going. "Sam had started digging into these offshore investments Keene used to launder money through agricultural shell companies. But Rourke? He handled the cleanup. And by cleanup I don't mean spreadsheets. I stared at him. You're saying Sam was in danger, and he knew it. Miles pointed to the page with Sam's handwriting, his red ink note. She knows. He came back. If anything happens to me, it's not an accident. He didn't just suspect Liana had returned. He feared it. And maybe not because she wanted her son back, but because she was tied up in whatever Keen was running. My mind reeled. I'd been so focused on Liana as a desperate mother. But what if she was something else entirely? Ruth appeared at the top of the stairs, barefoot and silent. I couldn't sleep. Heard you talking. I motioned her down. Mills gave her a brief nod, then handed her a printed document from the folder. It was a surveillance photo, grainy but unmistakable. A man standing beside Liana outside a downtown building in Jacksonville. Gideon Rourke. Ruth's mouth parted. They're working together? Maybe, Miles said. Or maybe he's keeping tabs on her. Either way, they're connected. And this man is dangerous. What do we do? I asked. I'm filing a motion first thing tomorrow for an emergency protection order, Miles said. Not just against Liana, against any parties affiliated with her. If the judge sees this, we can argue that Andrew is in immediate risk. And if the judge doesn't buy it? Miles looked at me grim. Then you may need to leave town. Temporarily. I don't say that lightly. After Miles left, Ruth and I sat in the living room with the folder spread out between us like pieces of a shattered mirror. Every photo, every memo, every snippet of a document Sam had either found or helped create. Each one chipped away at the man I thought I knew. How deep was he in this? I murmured. Ruth didn't answer for a long time. When she did, her voice was quiet. Maybe deep enough to realize getting out meant dying. The words clung to the air like smoke. I leaned back, pressing a palm against my chest. He never told me. Never warned me. He probably thought he could protect you by keeping you out of it, Ruth said. That's what men like him do. They carry the whole fire on their back, thinking it'll never reach the house. But it had. And it was spreading. Upstairs I checked on Andrew. He slept in a tight little ball, holding his stuffed elephant, his forehead dotted with sweat. So innocent. So unaware. How do I keep you safe? Back downstairs, Ruth poured the last of the wine and turned to me. We need leverage, she said. You want to beat Keen? You want to stop Liana? Then we need to know what Sam knew. All of it. I nodded slowly. I know where to look. Ruth tilted her head. Where? The north pasture, I said. There's an old storage shed Sam never let me near. Said it was full of engine parts. But I saw him out there at night sometimes, alone. She stood. Then that's where we go tomorrow. That night I barely slept. My dreams were filled with flickers of Sam's voice, half-whispered warnings, and the sound of paper burning. When I awoke before dawn, I sat by the window with a blanket around my shoulders and watched the fog creep over the fields. Something was buried out there. And I was ready to dig it up. By sunrise, the fog was already thinning, curling over the pasture like a ghost reluctant to let go. Ruth and I dressed in silence. She threw on an old denim jacket over a t-shirt that read, "Press, not panic." I pulled my boots on and grabbed a flashlight even though the sun was up. It felt like the kind of place where darkness lingered, regardless of time. Neither of us spoke much as we walked through the tall grass toward the north pasture. There was a hush about the land, the kind that makes you instinctively lower your voice even if you're alone. Sam never mentioned this shed? Ruth asked, squinting at the structure as it came into view. A squat, weathered building half covered in creeping vines. He said it was for broken tools and engine parts. But I've always felt something off. He came out here late at night sometimes. Always alone. The closer we got, the more I noticed details I'd never really looked at before. The padlock, rusted but heavy-duty. The boards around the windows nailed shut. This wasn't a storage shed, it was a vault. Ruth tried the door. Locked. I held up the keys Sam had kept in the kitchen drawer, which I brought along on a hunch. I tried the third one down, long, brass, and strange for a shed. It clicked. The hinges moaned like a wounded animal as the door opened. A musty, metallic scent hit us first. Old oil, paper, and something else. Decay. Ruth turned on the flashlight and we stepped inside. Rows of shelves lined the walls, filled not with tools but with boxes. Each was labeled in Sam's neat, sharp handwriting, Keen Agro, 2017, Payroll Anomalies, Liana, Confidential. My breath caught. He kept everything. Ruth exhaled. Oh my God. He was building a case. We spent the next hour carefully opening box after box. There were printouts of internal emails, spreadsheets, even surveillance photos of Gideon Rourke. And more than once we found notes in red ink, Sam's signature color. But the most chilling discovery came when I opened a file labeled Unsent Letters CJ. There were 3 of them. Handwritten. Each one addressed to me. Emma, if you're reading this, I didn't make it out. I sat on an overturned crate, heart pounding. The first letter was dated 8 months before his death. He talked about Keene's offshore accounts, how he'd stumbled upon an internal audit that didn't match the books. He kept digging. Rourke came to my office today, but I played dumb. He doesn't suspect I've been copying files. Yet. I think Liana's involved. I don't know how, but she's back in the country. The second letter, dated 2 months later, was more personal. He mentioned Andrew. If anything happens to me, I need you to take care of him. He's mine, Emma. He's my son. I froze. These were the things he never told me. Not even when he was dying. Ruth, I said, almost teary. He never told me he had Andrew all along. Her heart felt for me. He fought so hard to keep him, to shield him from Liana. He never told me he didn't want to complicate things, or maybe he thought it would drive a wedge between us. But it made my mission clearer than ever. I had to protect Andrew. Not just because I loved him like my own, but because he really is part of Sam. The third letter was unfinished. It ended mid-sentence, ink smudged. If Rourke ever shows up at the farm, it means he's found the drives. Don't give them up. Take them to... That was it. No name. No place. Just a long scratch of red ink trailing off the page. Ruth lifted her head slowly. We have to find those drives. I nodded. And we need to copy everything in this shed. If we hand this over, we need a backup. We worked for hours, photographing, scanning, organizing. I didn't notice how cold it had gotten until my fingers started to go numb. By the time we stepped outside, the sun was high and the wind had picked up. I looked back once at the shed, then locked it behind us. But I couldn't shake the sense that we weren't alone. That someone had been watching. And when we returned to the house, there was a fresh boot print by the kitchen door. We hadn't left it. Enough for now. Part 4 will kick off from where we left off.